Tonight, an overexposed, undeserving, unworthy author who leveraged his position in the media with a group of undemanding, middle-aged readers to gain great literary success he didn't deserve, suffers the ultimate indignity. The awful, trite, bland Netflix adaptation. Welcome to a righteous Macclevoid at the movies. Guten Tag, it's me, Dr. Macclevoid. It's not my real name. We're talking about the Thursday Murder Club. What's that? It's, it was a book, and suppose still is a book, by, quiz show host and podcaster and all-round entertainment personality, Richard Osman. Who's he? He's a professional Robert Wadlow lookalike, and a man who has leveraged his position in the media to get a book deal, thus pushing out one grassroots, non-famous, non-connected author in the process. So we can have more cozy crime with a little bit of a sardonic edge. Agatha Christie with sarcasm. And someone else, some other poor bastard who slaved away for years and years writing a superior novel, doesn't get the sales because they're all going to that bespectacled freak. Now, who could I be talking about? Well, I'm talking about me, obviously. This is my novel. It's called They Forgave Eric Gill. It's available now on Amazon in paperback and ebook form. You should buy it if you don't have a copy already. You're a bloody disgrace. Where have you been? There's more wit and imagination and edge in this novel than in 50 books by the House of Games bloke. But I didn't go to Cambridge. I don't have the connections in the media industry. You know, I'm not a Nepo baby or any of that nonsense. I haven't had that lucky break in the media. I'm just sitting at home talking to you, for goodness sake. So whereas old Richard with his brand recognition and name recognition, you know, appealing to lots and lots of middle-aged people each day with his bland game shows, gets a book deal, which of course they lap up, don't they? Because they'll fucking read anything. What aren't they reading? They're not reading this. And this has got an edge. There's nothing cosy about this. There's nothing Agatha Christie about this. Sorry if you can't dream beyond those lazy archetypes. You want wit? You want psychological density? This is it. This is the read for you. And if you haven't read it, your illiterate credentials are, frankly, well, all there for the world to see. They will pity you. They will. Because the people who've read it know what they've missed. And they listen to you round the water cooler at work saying, well, actually, I'm on the third Richard Osman book at the moment, and they are terribly clever. I mean, the twists, and oh, goodness me. Fuck you. This is what you want. Right here. Richard slaved away on his MacBook for 50,000 hours. He couldn't craft this. Get out there and buy a copy. It's called They Forgave Eric Gill. Why am I rallying against this profound literary injustice? I'll tell you why. Because not only has Richard Osman stole readers from the likes of me and many other authors out there who don't have any name recognition and who don't have any contacts and didn't go to Cambridge and don't have an audience, a ready-made audience of millions and millions of middle-aged women and pensioners to rely on. Not only that, but he had the audacity to sell the film rights to Netflix. Netflix! Where good movies go to die. So what is the Netflix adaptation of Thursday Murder Club like? Well, I'll tell you. It's bland, twee, cinematically worthless, stylistically inert, stultifyingly boring, full of sub-Agatha Christie cliches. It's got nothing. No pace, no wit, no grace, and not a single genuine emotion, not a single authentic performance. It's 2 hours long, and they dare to put it on their platform as some sort of great event. Ooh, Thursday Murder Club was a big literary event. Ooh, here's the movie of the literary event. Well, they're both non-events in my view. Of course, the moment the movie, such as it is, premiered on Netflix, there were lots of people who said, oh, but the book's so much better, Mummy, and Richard Osman's so much better. He writes with a knowing wit. Does he? Well, then he must be the best actor in the world, because he's been on his own podcast, licking Christopher Columbus's ass, going on about what a genius he is. Oh, Christopher, you're so good. Everything you touch turns to gold. I couldn't have expected anybody better. I've spent years looking at, observing your process, and Now, he may be contractually obliged to say these things, but he sure didn't look like he was acting on the rest of his entertainment when he fawned over Chris Columbus. Chris Columbus, the synonym for mediocrity. Now he must, presumably, he looks at Chris Columbus's movie, and either he's broken inside and so inwardly disappointed that he can't articulate it, and therefore defaults to his natural deference toward Chris Columbus and Steven Spielberg, whose Amblin Entertainment unbelievably picked up this dross. Or he's in a state of deep, deep denial, because having seen this incredibly expensive episode of Midsummer Murders, this sub ITV1 Sunday night filler, he's looked at it and he said, yeah, I mean, if anything, it's actually better than what I wrote. It's I couldn't quite articulate it the way I wanted, so I had to add little bits of personality and wit, just because that's an extension of my sardonic middle class personality. But actually, now I see it in its oversaturated form on my TV at home, and oh look, it's Pierce Brosnan, and oh it's Helen Mirren's, and it's it's Ben Kingsley playing a character with the name Ibrahim. I know he played Gandhi, but you know. And it's the other woman from Acorn Antique. She's in it. That's exactly who I pictured in my head. I couldn't have pictured better than that. Maybe he's just swept up in it. He can't see what we see, which is the quintessence of awful. Columbus said on the Rest is Entertainment podcast, well, what I wanted to do was these actors are so great, I just wanted to kind of, just film them in mid-shot and just get them all in the frame, if I could. Just get them all in the frame and just let them act. Just let them do their thing. I just didn't, I didn't even, hardly had to direct them. And no, indeed, nor does he. They just stand in frame doing their shtick. Kingsley's mildly eccentric. The woman from Acorn Antiques is a bit kooky. Helen Mirren's a little bit authoritarian. And Pierce Brosnan is doing an impression of Ray Winston. Well, at least he thinks he is. Now, obviously, over the years, Macclemaniacs, I have, as I like to call you, I've fantasised about what a Hollywood adaptation of my book, They Forgave Eric Gill, available now on Amazon, would look like. Because writers, of course, as we know, often don't have any say in how their books are adapted, though some do get to write or co-author the screenplay. But even then, it's subject to the whims of the director and all the rest of it. Now, Osman did not write the screenplay for this movie. He cannot be blamed for the screenplay. It was apparently written by some sitcom writers and former stand-up comedians, Katie somebody and somebody Heathcote, whoever they are. And they blandified it, and of course they were subject to a memoranda of understanding from Netflix, gave them the clipboard, everybody must talk in expository terms, don't take any risks, add the word fuck for a little bit of edge, that sort of thing. And Chris Columbus, he's not considered a safe pair of hands for nothing. If you want a hack, if you want a point and click man, if you want somebody who will absolutely direct a safe product, you couldn't do better. He's edgeless, and presumably at this point in his career has no artistic integrity, and therefore is quite content to be directed himself by a board of Netflix execs who tell him exactly what not to do. Don't make it too stylish, Chris. Don't move the camera too much because there's no point. Nobody's watching, right? This is going to be on our service, okay? So somebody else is going to be on their phone watching porn while this is on, or TikTok, or the Instagrams, or any of the other things, or updating their X and their thread. They're not going to be watching it. So lots of clarity in the dialogue. Don't worry too much about how it looks. It's a waste of energy and time. Okay? Okay, boss. Don't worry about it. For authors like me, being pushed out by authors like Richard Osman, less talented authors than ourselves, in this unjust world of ours, it's tempting, very tempting, dare I say, to feel a smug sense of satisfaction at the moment that Richard Osman sat in a cinema in the West End of London with his family and his friends and Steven Spielberg and all these incredibly talented people around him who had made great movies in the past, and he'd sat there and he'd thought, oh, now it's my turn. Here's my book, and made by, Hollywood royalty, the Hollywood establishment. I'm part of that now. Hey, I'm even a producer on this movie, so I'm going to get lots more money that I don't deserve. And he's sitting there with his family and his friends, and then this thing plays in front of him. And he watches it, and he watches it, and he watches it. And he realises that it is the kind of sterile, lifeless, cliched rubbish that were he not involved in any capacity would be ripping the piss out of on his podcast with fellow smug co-host Marina Hyde. Honestly, you haven't seen anything as excruciating as Thursday Murder Club since Three Men and a Little Lady. Do you remember that? Well, I've tried to forget it for 30 years and I can't. But yeah, look, primarily, this movie is an affront to me. Because the millions and millions of dollars that went to make this film based on that book, a book I might add that I shall never read, is really, when you think about it, at my expense. That's all right. No, please don't try to reassure me. It is. Because it should be this, shouldn't it? That's in cinemas, not on a streamer, not on fucking Netflix, but in the flick house with at least a 45-day theatrical window. And not directed by Chris Columbus, oh no. But by a director with personality, with artistry, who doesn't necessarily adapt this book literally. I'm not suggesting that. What do you think I am, vain? Of course, movies and novels are different mediums. What works on the page does not necessarily work on the screen. I did not write this with a movie adaptation in mind, unlike some bespectacled authors I could mention. This book was about realising what could be done with the literary medium, and that governed its composition. And I would say to any Hollywood director who took it on, as I'm sure watching this, many people in Hollywood are just itching to read it and to buy up the rights. I would say to them this: Do it the way you want to do it, but make it new. Yes, make it new, but try to translate the spirit and the intent of the story and put that on the big screen. And if that means replotting the novel or attempting to find new and interesting ways to evoke the same feelings, then so be it. There's a lot of this is a first-person unreliable narrative. So naturally, a lot of this would have to be translated into visual shorthand. The camera itself would have to almost take on a psychological disposition. But wouldn't it be worth it to see this novel, this great novel, They Forgave Eric Gill, by me, available now on Amazon, in paperback and ebook form, on the big screen? It would be a separate thing for me, which is why I wouldn't want it to be a literal page for page adaptation. I would always regard it as a separate entity, because of course the story already exists in the form in which it was intended to be presented to the world. But you know, if anybody out there in Hollywood does want to adapt it, go ahead. Contact me. I'm open to the possibility. But I'm not at home to Chris Columbus. His number is blocked. And poor old Richard Osman, the Robert Wadlow lookalike, who leveraged his connections to push out an authentic grassroots author and take the money that was reserved for them with one of the big 5 publishers, and is now reaping the rewards with a multi-picture deal that he doesn't deserve. He's stuck with this lot because apparently Columbus is already slated to direct the 2nd and 3rd novel in his series. Is that justice, perhaps? Ongoing purgatory? I can't say for sure. But the short answer is yes. Till next time, I'm Dr. Macclevoid. It's not my real name. My real name is Ed Whitfield, and I wrote this. They Forgave Eric Gill. It's available now from Amazon in paperback and ebook form. And it is approximately 9.7 times better than anything Richard Osman will ever write, and about 50 times better than any Chris Columbus adaptation of anything that Richard Osman will ever write. You got it? Smashing. Till next time. Goodbye.